and welcome to a 30-minute yin practice focused on heart opening, heart softening, just letting the heart do what it does, beating, moving fluid through your body, connecting to breath. So it is a yin class, and the yin poses are intended to be done with props. Not all yin, but the yin in this class, pretty much all of our poses, we're going to use a prop. So I've got a yoga bolster. I know not everyone has one of those. You can definitely use a couch cushion. You want something thick. Could come from the back of the couch, the bottom of the couch, whatever. Doesn't have to be narrow like this. 2 blocks. I have big, thick blocks, but you can use whatever blocks you have. It'd be great, or it's pretty much essential for them to be the same size as each other. Without blocks, you could skip a couple of things with blocks, or if you only have one, we can work with that. And then I have a blanket. This is not even a yoga blanket, but it's a kind of a thin blanket that I can fold and unfold and roll. So that's what we've got. And again, you can improvise, but you will need some support in the poses that I'm putting out there today. So move on to your seat. I'm going to go ahead and just take this folded blanket as a lift to my hips. Not necessary, but I think it would be a good place to start. And so I mentioned the breath. Really, we know that our lungs and our heart are deeply connected. And when we're thinking about our nervous system, slowing the breath down is kind of the closest route in. So I want you to just sit in a comfortable place. My hips are just kind of set up on that prop, but the rest of my legs and feet are on the mat. Hands resting where it feels comfortable for me. That's palms down on knees. And I want you to just start by taking a couple breaths any which way. So for me, especially when my nervous system is kind of ramped up, in and out through the mouth, again, is kind of the most direct way to get things to soften. So as you're softening with your breath, see if you can soften the various layers. So kind of the immediate, like whatever was happening before now, soften that. Soften your brain energy, so it doesn't always, your brain can be grasping onto things that are happening in the future, that have happened in the way far past, or the immediate. It could be any of the above. So soften that. Soften your physical body, the container. Specifically shoulders, that's kind of the frame of the heart. Continue to soften physical body, belly. Face and jaw, soften. Arms. Rib cage. And then next layer, kind of final layer that we'll work with is internal. Can you soften those tissues, those organs? They're still working, they're still performing, they're keeping things vibrant. But can we dial down the intensity. Take a big inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, side bend to the left. So left hand lands, left arm reaches, and we'll take a couple breaths here. You can move in the way that feels good to you. Inhale up. Exhale, side bend other way. Same thing. If there's a little bit of movement or adjusting, go ahead and give yourself that. So when we're in yin poses, we can move, but we're not trying to stay with the intensity. So as we do these first couple stretches, just let it be softer. Take an inhale up and then exhale, right hand, left knee, twist. Just kind of feel what's going on across front and back of heart. Inhale up, exhale other way, same thing. There's no right and wrong to how your physical body feels. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, collect the two hands together. Straighten elbows. It's okay to rest your knuckles on a prop or on the ground, or even the back of your sacrum with elbows bent. Lift your heart. Feel the shoulders. Feel the neck. Inhale, arms up, and then exhale, slide your hands forward and just kind of stretch, almost like a child's pose. And then, depending on how you are on your mat, you could just keep walking yourself out. We're going to go right into Sphinx pose. So that's a familiar one, and we won't have props. And I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to be timing the poses, so just know that I might be looking at my watch here just to keep our timer going. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees to rotate thighs inwards. Keep feet at least hips width apart. Push the two palms down. Lift your heart as you traction your hands back towards your body. Broaden collarbones. Lift your heart, push your head back in space, and just breathe here. Again, maybe you move your maybe you move your chin. Many of you know this is an important pose in my life. Seated most of the day. I find it's just the right amount of activation and softening to counteract some of that. And so we will be here a little while. There's a couple things you can do, though I don't encourage movement for just the sake of moving. Sometimes sitting with the intensity is really the key to yin. But if you wanted to make it a little more intense, you could push your hands and straighten your elbows. Now, granted, this goes into low back a little bit, so kind of know that. You could also widen the hands and do the same thing. This is called seal pose. And if you wanted to, you could also kind of shrug the shoulders and or let the head hang in that same seal. If this goes too much into the low back, don't do it. Come back to Sphinx, which is really neutral. And I didn't give you an option in case you can't be on your belly. You can be in cow pose on hands and knees. So choose the pose you're going to linger in for the next minute or so. And allow things to unfold. That's part of holding. What happens when we stay? Most people in this practice today know what happens when we move. We do that in Vinyasa Yoga all the time. So what happens when we stay? Take 2 more deep breaths. Go ahead and lower out of your Sphinx or your seal. Move on to hands and knees. You're going to grab your 2 blocks. For folks with kind of really tight shoulders, lowest, flattest version of blocks would be great. If you have a little more mobility in the shoulders and like a deeper stretch, then middle block. I'm also going to suggest that you take your blanket and kind of roll it into a fairly thick roll and put that in the middle of the 2 blocks, and you'll pull it out from the blocks. And so what we're going to do is Anahatasana, that's our heart chakra pose. You're going to be on your knees, and you always can walk in and out depending on what works. So I found I'm a little far. So you're going to bring your elbows, and you want them closer to the far edge of the blocks. You got to maneuver a little bit, and you can kind of walk them in as you go. But we more or less want the thighs vertical. I also feel like my blanket's going to be a little bit too close to my mouth, so I'm going to move that. And then drop the forehead onto that blanket. Palms touch overhead in a prayer pose. And if you find the intensity is too much, drop the level of the blocks or take them away altogether. We want to be able to stay, to unravel, to soften, to tap into that energy of the heart. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. What happens when you stay? Take a deeper breath. Big exhale out of the mouth. Go ahead and come on up. And go ahead and adjust out of those blocks and just sit upright for a moment. We call this the rebound in yin. It's finding a neutral spine, a neutral place to just kind of let it all reverberate back to center. That intensity quiets. The body has time to recalibrate. Go ahead and slide onto your left hip. Move one of your blocks off the mat. And the other one now is horizontal to your mat. And again, I've got a really thick block here, so it doesn't need to be so high. You can then just kind of lay your blanket so that there's padding. You don't want it the thinnest layer. And you're going to bend the knees stacked. Bring the left elbow down on top of the block so that you've got your rib cage over the block and really more like your armpit area. And so when I am here, I can actually feel not that much. So what I want to do is I want to kind of wiggle myself so that the block is a little bit more underneath my left armpit. And now I feel the corner, the bottom edge of the block start to access some of those deep rotator cuff muscles. So if you know you've had injuries in this place before, and it's just not a good idea for you to do this stretch, then you'll remove the block and lay just on your side. Otherwise, if it feels okay to you to stay in the pose, see if you can start to kind of find that trigger point that feels like it's getting in somewhere. And you could find it by kind of rolling back a little bit or rolling a little forward. I'm able to access it kind of right in the middle, but all of our bodies are built differently. The rest of the body just kind of stays here stacked. Make sure that the left hand is truly supporting the head. Your neck should not be working here in any way. Your left elbow should be truly supported by the ground so that you can just kind of melt into the intensity. We won't be in this one quite as long, but I do want to feel what happens when we stay. Keep breathing, couple more breaths. Go ahead and pause, releasing your head, pushing up. And we'll just pause in the middle, this kind of rebound moment. And just see, without making a big conversation, is there a difference? We're going right into second side, so I'm going to stay facing you and simply move my prop. You could also just roll over. So again, with the prop, closer to the armpit, elbow goes outside or forward of the block. Knees are stacked. And allow yourself to take time to find the right spot. Moving around a little bit. Make sure your head is supported. Your neck should be doing nothing here. Keep breathing. Keep softening. Take another deep breath. A couple more to just keep softening around intensity. Take one more breath here. Press up, pause in the middle. And again, what's the same? What's different? What's changed? We're going to move into a different shape. So I've got two pretty sturdy blocks here. If you've got a little more narrow block, you might go medium level for stability. But we want it to be at an angle so that you can take your cushion and place it here. And I'm actually going to leave the cushion off of the mat. And I'm going to bring my feet underneath that cushion. Our butt is going to go on the heels and we'll lean back. But I just wanted to kind of identify that. Everyone has a different shaped body. Everyone has a different shaped bolster. So you really just have to make sure you find the place that works for you. Some folks have more flexibility in their thighs and hips. You might bring a blanket underneath your hips and not sit on your feet, but rather have your feet to the sides. That doesn't really work for me without a big warm up. So I'm going to come to that bolster, that diagonal shape, bring my feet so that my toes are touching and the heels of my feet are touching the bolster. And then bring my seat back so it kind of lands just between or on top of both the heels and the prop a little bit. And you might want your blanket nearby in case you need a pillow for your head. I'm going to lay back onto the bolster. So in this shape, my head kind of rests right at the top of the bolster, which feels good. It actually feels like a little bit of a pillow. But again, different shape body, different shape pillows. So if you need to adjust or fold up your blanket underneath your neck or stuff your blanket underneath your seat or something like that, do so. At the end of the day, we are in a kneeling posture. Feet are most likely under your hips, but could be to the sides if safe for knees. Take a moment to kind of slide your tailbone forward, even if it means picking up the hips for a second. That helps lengthen low back. And then the spine is resting on the prop, the pillow. Hands can lay wherever are comfortable. I feel this primarily in my thighs and hip flexors. The space of the heart is open, but it's not a deep back bend. We will linger here for a little while. So there should be a balance of intensity and support. If it's all intensity, that might be your cue to come out and reprop with more support. If there's no intensity at all, maybe the same cue. And just allow things to land. Come back to those layers. The immediate is right here. We're already here. The brain energy that comes and goes, doesn't matter where we are. So if it's really active for you, try to soften it. The physical. See if you can just soften into the props. Soften into the spaces where there's a deep stretch right now. See if you can just soften the connective points. Soften belly. Soften face and jaw. And take that internally, see if you can soften your organs, your tissues, your fascia. Take one more breath. We're going to slowly peel out of this. I want to, again, just like we wanted a lot of support in the pose, we want a lot of support coming out. So go ahead and push into the hands and come on up. Find a seat off of your heels so that you can extend your legs long. And go ahead and just take a moment just sitting. Again, neutral, rebound. Go ahead and remove the bolster. So we are going to not end because we will have a restorative resting pose, but the last pose here is going to be for the heart. So really opening, but again, in a supportive way. So there's a couple different ways you can do this because everyone has different size blocks, but we want a stretch of the heart, but we don't want to strain ourselves. So you might want one low block and one medium block. High blocks are pretty high. So I'm going to do one medium block and then my head down, and I'll remove this if there's room. You can bend your knees to get into this. So for this, we want the block on the upper back. So under the shoulder blades, but kind of at the lowest part of the shoulder blades, which is still pretty high up on the upper back. And then head supported on another block or that rolled towel or blanket. Arms wide. If it feels good to extend the legs, extend the legs. If you feel like you need the support of the bent knees, do that. And we'll just land and let it open. So now you have a prop right into your rib cage. So can you relax that space even with that prop, that intensity? So when you inhale into the prop. And when you exhale, you soften around it. Let those exhales wash through the body. Sometimes in a pose like this, we'll have the intensity right around the heart, the rib cage. Sometimes it radiates somewhere else. So in those exhales, can they soften everywhere? Hips, knees, feet, arms, hands. See what happens when you stay. Take a deeper breath. Just like before, use a lot of support to come out of this, specifically through arms. Go ahead and come up to a seated pose once again for the sake of rebound. Going to come back onto the mat. Keep the props close. We'll use them in a moment, but I do want to give the spine a little winding out before we come into our final rest. So just windshield wiper the knees right and left. And then just land, and again at neutral. Less of a rebound, but more just to see. We're going to once again roll to the side to come up. For our final pose, if you have the props, if they're the right size, you can also kind of just do some of them. So one option would be just to bring the two blocks kind of tilted so the backs of your thighs touch the blocks. And it's okay. I find this pretty relaxing. I don't find it wobbly at all. Or you can take the bolster if you've got kind of a yoga size bolster, and you can bring the block or two to support it. And what I've done here is I've aligned the back of the side of the bolster with my thighs so that my thighs will really rest on something, which I find gives some pressure off the back. And then laying all the way down. If you've got something under your knees, see if you can lengthen your legs a little way so that it's almost like a gentle traction, but it really shouldn't be tractioning. We're here to rest. This is going to act as a shavasana today. So go ahead and just be with it. Feel the space behind your heart again. This time, no props. Continue to kind of wash the exhale all over your body. Sensation may linger. What can you leave here? What doesn't need to get picked back up? Allowing for those layers to be just a little lighter when we move from this space. Take a deeper breath. Full exhale out of the mouth. If you have time, see what happens when you stay. Stay longer. Otherwise, bend the knees, kind of come off the props, roll to one side. Come all the way up to seated. Just kind of be here with your own heart, with your own body, with your own layers. Thanks so much for being here.